chaser. And yep, I'm sleeveless. We're going sleeveless today. Sleeveless in Seattle, baby. Why am I doing this? I don't know. Why do we do anything, guys? So today's topic is one that let me preface something. So through the years of trying recovery and struggling with alcoholism and drugs and all that fun stuff, I've at least improved in some departments. When I reflect on my past and dealings with people and basic interaction with the world, I tend to be more honest and humble and self-aware in a more accurate light. I look at the ways that I acted, and I look at how I dealt with people, or rather didn't deal with people, and I really, with some sort of clarity, I've come to some things that were true that I kind of ignored for a long time. With that being said, I don't speak for everyone. I speak for myself. I kind of like throw in what I would call insight into things, and obviously a lot of it's mixed with opinion. But so here's the topic. When alcoholics and addicts are in active addiction, they do a lot of hiding, a lot of sneaking, a lot of manipulation, lying, all that sort of good stuff. And, I notice in terms of like people getting into recovery, whether it's treatment or like the meetings, and I come across this a lot. And there are people, they talk about the way that they hid or got away with things. And yes, I'm using quotes, but the way they hid or got away with things. And a lot of times there's this sort of weird and, dare I say, gross sort of pride that just creaks out of their mouth when they talk about it. Like there's so many times in meetings where I hear people where they will say things like, and I was just full of manipulation. I could manipulate anybody I wanted when I wanted, just so I could get my drugs, or I hid it from everyone. Like no one knew the reality of my situation. I was completely, people were just flabbergasted when they found out what I was actually doing. And I know I just had a tinge of like making it sound a douchey voice or something. I don't mean to like be judgmental in any sort of sense, but when I say this weird, gross pride, like alcoholics and addicts, we're not sociopaths and completely unrepentant. I don't know. I don't see this sort of attitude that comes out anywhere else when usually alcoholics and addicts talk about their past. But there's this, I don't know exactly what it is, which is weird because I would kind of do it myself over like years and years ago. And like I said, I've only kind of, I started breaking away from that, but there's this, I don't know. There's this idea that we just got away with stuff. We were more clever we were smarter and more manipulative. Hear the manipulate a lot. And I think everybody needs to like dial that attitude way back. I try to go, and I did this. I tried to imply this like years into when I was really trying to recover. It was like, dude, you did not get away with it as much as you thought you did. You weren't clever. You weren't like Machiavellian and just super like double agent, secret life or anything. I mean, for the most part, I got away with shit because I just started drinking alone. I mean, people can't catch you if you're isolating from them completely, and your dog can't talk, presumably, so he's not going to tell anybody. Like, and the funny thing is, even that's not getting away with it now that I think about it, because you're isolating, and most people probably by that time know what you're doing. I don't know, I've come across this just so many times, and like I said, I'm not saying this is the reality of like what you always see in meetings or treatment or recovery circles or anything like that, but there are patterns that fall, and I see it a lot where it's funny too, because when I said earlier that sometimes this pisses people off or rubs them the wrong way when I talk about this, I don't know, it seems to like hurt their ego a little bit when I'm just like, no, you are not getting away with it as much as you thought they were. No, I can understand too that can come across as kind of bullshit, because like, you don't know my life, you don't know what I was doing. But I always kind of just, at least I try secretly to take that stance, because a lot of people over years, and when they get more clarity and sobriety, they come to this realization too. I was the same way too, honestly. I thought I was way sneakier than I was. I thought I got away with stuff way more. I thought I was tricking people. The wool was over their eyes. Just, dude, I was just secret agent man. Nobody knew any of the shit I was doing. And the thing is that what you learn is that you don't really get away with drinking and using drugs a lot of the time just from cleverness or manipulation. Like a big factor in this, and I've learned from not just talking with fellow addicts and alcoholics, but a lot of people I know that are friends, family, spouses of addicts and alcoholics, when they would whatever confide in me a lot of the times, because like, hey, you're one of these fucked up people, you tell me what it's like, or let me vent to you or something. And they would tell me kind of the truth of what was going on. And the truth of what was going on is that they knew they were drinking, they knew they were using, they just wouldn't say anything, because at a certain point it's like, what am I going to do? I remember, so I was in a nearly 8-year relationship, and it was kind of weird. There was some part of it that was like a couple of years that was like almost daily drinking. It's pretty bad. And then a lot of years where I was just in my attempts at recovery, and I was way more sober than I was drinking, but I just had a lot of those relapses. But, I just, like, after some time of sobriety, finally sat down and had a conversation with her, and she was just like, yeah, I always knew when you were drinking. Because that's one thing, too, is that once somebody close in your life catches your tell, and your tell can be a lot of things. Your tell can be the sort of way you repeat yourself, or a certain thing, a gesture you kind of do when you're high or drunk, like just even personality quirks that come out that never come out when you're sober, even little ones. My tell was that I just had this delayed sort of blink. Like I could be totally cogent and fine talking and everything coordinated, all this sort of stuff, but it didn't, my eyes would always betray me, because there would just be this slight glaze, no matter how much little eye drops I use, and just this sort of, I don't know, delayed reaction sort of thing. And she told me, she's like, I knew every time, but like, I don't want to get into a fight. We're having like I remember she said like, it was a nice night. We were enjoying the movie. It's like, why ruin this? Honestly. And I remember, so there was years where I was drinking. This is like really at the heavy times where I was like drinking at work, or at the very least I drank so much the night before where I was just permeating, and I was doing all sorts of stuff just to cover it up, and like no one ever said anything to me. I kind of thought I was getting away with it. I was always super worried. Like anytime I was brought into like the manager's office, I was like, I'm getting fired, and they'd be like, yeah, you're doing great, do you want to take this day off or something, but I still thought I was getting away with it. And the truth was, as I learned later, it's just like, well, he's doing his job, and why am I going to bring him up? He's clearly an alcoholic. Like, what am I going to have an intervention here? We need him to work too. Like, basically, you're not so much tricking people. You're just kind of like beating them in this sort of staring contest of like, who's going to blink first? Is someone going to say the thing that's actually going on that they know is going on? Or are they just going to kind of keep putting up with it because the status quo is bearable? I mean, that is the reason why I say I don't know people's lives and if they really got away with it or not, but I always tend towards that you were not getting away with it as much as you thought you were, because I've just heard so many people, whether they were the addicts or alcoholics themselves, who found out later how little they got away with it when they were so confident that they did. And then just from other people, non-addicts and alcoholics, to people in their life who would just talk about, this person is so clearly an alcoholic at work. This, we all know what's going on in my cousin's lives, or with like my, best friend's boyfriend is, I don't know if he thinks he's getting away with it, or I don't know what they're doing. They're just not talking about it. But I mean, it's a disaster. There's been so many of those conversations, and it's towards people who just totally think they got everyone fooled. And it's like that old cliche. It's like the only person you were fooling was yourself. Whoa, mind blown. But it's also kind of true. I go back to that idea of this. I don't understand why it, like, I guess I do understand a little bit. That's sort of, again, the gross pride that comes away with, like, I was manipulating so many people and I had everybody fooled and all this type of stuff. I guess I could see that too, where sometimes people tell like war stories, so to speak, or, they talk about how much they drank, and it was always, they have to give you the exact amount, 37 shots in one night. And there is that, I don't know, sort of weird pride thing that comes in some of the destruction we did. And it's totally natural. And I've done it just countless times myself. But I also think this is a little bit different than that, is that I try to speak about it, never directly to anybody, never trying to call someone out, because again, I don't know the reality of the situation, but I try to speak about it in a way because I think it's good to add, give yourself a little slice of humble pie. And not only that, not just for the humility, but it's probably a more accurate way of seeing the world. I mean, if you doubt how much you thought you were getting away with it, it gives you an idea of how you affect other people. Because it really did, to me, when I figured out how little I got away with it, it made me really reflect of like, man, that had to be fucking uncomfortable for them. I mean, they just knew I was drinking, slowly killing myself, and just even people that you just normally don't think of as like super strongly connected people in your life, like even like coworkers, like whatever, they were my coworkers for like a year or two or something, I still have like tons of remorse for them. Because it's like, fuck, man, like how uncomfortable has that got to be that every day this person just like, I mean, they're seemingly doing fine, they're functional in this way, but who knows, any day they could just, I don't know. I mean, they're just literally, they're alcoholics, so they're completely unpredictable. And I think it's good not just to beat yourself up. You don't want to you don't want to fall into that mudslide of self-pity. But I think it's good to really consider the reality of what your situation was. Were you really getting away with it? Or was it because it was just too difficult to deal with you? And what were people going to do about it? If you were so ingrained in your addiction all throughout your life, and you just weren't stopping, even when people had tried to plead, like that was one other thing too, not to get super off track, but one other thing too is that people would say that they were getting away with it over the years, but there had been interventions before, or people had talked about them and their drinking before. It's like, if anyone has done that in your life before and you continue drinking after that, you are fooling no one. No one ever goes like, I really think you need to do something about your drinking, and then you continue drinking and they're just like, oh, never mind, I was wrong about that. Like, no, like people know. And I don't really understand, I don't know what super point I'm trying to drive home with this sentiment, but I don't know. I think it's a good way to consider, again, your interaction with people, the loved ones, even not as significant people, and just to more truth in your life and your reflection of what you did. And again, not a way just to like cram down shame or anything like that, but just a true kind of understanding of what your role was and everything. It can be healthy, and it can lead to insights that can help you stay sober. Hopefully, you are not as clever as you thought you were, or maybe you were. I don't know. There are legitimately people who are like, super shocked everyone when they checked into rehab. But I don't know. Just consider it, I guess. Anyways, like and subscribe. Here's my awkward little thing. Share with people, mention it if you think it's interesting, or other people would kind of like this sort of stuff. It covers mental health and addiction, and I don't know, just be well, be on your own path, do well. Best of luck to all you guys, or enjoy your whatever day it is.